Okay. So, A-level study, A-level key study for the clinical stuff. I'm only going to be doing clinical and consumer, sorry. The clinical psychology key study. We have Freeman et al. In relation to schizophrenia and VR avatars and stuff like that. So Freeman et al. Um, to go over the brief real quick. Do they have a brief? They don't have a brief, do they? Man, A-level is just worse. Rest in peace. A-level is actually just worse. Okay, anyways. My brief that I would give you, or first let's just look over it. We have aims, hypothesis. They actually don't give a hypothesis here. Methodology, correlational study. We have a sample, our procedure, little VR paranoia questionnaire table, ideas of reference, results, results here, conclusions, and so on. Not very much to see, but basically the idea here is let's just start. It's fine. Aim: investigated if neutral, non-threatening VR avatars could provoke persecutory thoughts in people with no previous clinical diagnoses. So, just to make sure we know this here. Persecutory thoughts. Yeah, believing that somebody is mistreating, spying on, or attempting to harm them, or someone close to them. Yeah, being spied on by someone who means harm or who is part of a conspiracy, thinking that, right? These are delusions connected to schizophrenia, mostly. So, they investigated if neutral, non-threatening VR avatars could provoke persecutory thoughts in people with no previous clinical diagnoses. And also if this was more common in people with higher levels of paranoia and emotional distress. Our methodology here is a correlational study using quantitative data via questionnaires and qualitative data via semi-structured interviews, which were also scored later for further quantitative data. Our sample: 12 male and 12 female paid volunteers from University College in London. That is a crazy name. Who the fuck would call a university college? Like, that is just so brain dead. Anyways, and they were all mentally well and quite young. Mean age was around 20 something, mid-20s. Procedure: participants were trained to use the VR gear, and then half of the participants completed the brief system inventory / BSI. So half the participants completed the BSI and 2 other questionnaires to measure persecutory ideation. The BSI was a 53-item questionnaire to assess mood, anxiety, and psychotic symptoms in the past week. But basically half the participants took these 3 questionnaires to measure persecutory ideation. Then all participants completed the VR task. They explored a VR library with 5 avatars sat in 2 groups, 3 and 2. They were occasionally smiling, looking over, and talking to each other. The participants were asked to explore the room and form an impression of the people and what they think about you. After 5 minutes, they would exit the VR. They completed the aforementioned 3 questionnaires, with half of the participants completing them for the second time. This will be explained later. And they also completed a 15-item VR paranoia questionnaire, which was especially made for this because it didn't exist beforehand. This measured persecutory thoughts, ideas of reference, and positive beliefs about the avatars. Lastly, participants were interviewed about the experience, and that included questions about any distress that they felt afterwards or during, just for ethics, to keep ethics valid. Then, finally, a clinical psychologist watched the recordings of the interviews and rated them out of 6 for persecutory ideation, as we talked about over there, scored for further quantitative data. Then, results. Mean paranoia score of 31.8, from a range of 20 to 100, so pretty low. No significant difference between males and females. Persecutory thoughts had a positive correlation with ideas of reference. Let's just make sure we know what ideas of reference is. Ideas of reference. Type of self-referential thinking where an individual mistakenly believes that external events or occurrences are directly related to them. Cool. There you go. Like thinking that, yeah, basically being crazy. Yeah. Then also, persecutory thoughts had a negative correlation with positive beliefs. Positive beliefs about the avatars, like thinking that they were nice or whatever. Positive correlation between persecutory thoughts in the questionnaires and interviews. And also, persecutory ideation had a positive correlation with paranoia, interpersonal sensitivity, and anxiety. Conclusion. Emotional processes linked to anxiety and interpersonal sensitivity contribute to the development of persecutory ideation. This highlights VR as a tool for enhancing theoretical understanding and helping the evaluation of and the reduction of persecutory ideation and delusions. Evaluation is short in these ones, thank God. We don't have to know everything about these things. We still have to know a good bit though, and issues and debates is longer because they add more here and here, and ethics is its own category for some reason, or its own section. Anyway, evaluation. Weakness. This is a methodological evaluation. Weakness. Participants reported low levels of presence in VR. The presence as in the feelings of actually being there, with an average rating of 2.3 out of 6, which is pretty low, obviously. This means that the findings may lack ecological validity due to the short duration and passive nature of the task, plus it being in VR, obviously. Strength. Half of the participants answered the questionnaires before the VR task and after, while the other half of participants answered only after. This was done to see if participants would be primed to experience persecutory thoughts by the questionnaires. This didn't appear to be the case, which suggests that the thoughts were triggered by the avatars and the environment, not the questionnaires. Weakness. Sampling bias. They were all from London University, volunteered via adverts for money, I think, right? Yeah, paid volunteers. They were all mentally healthy, well-educated and young, and generally intelligent and interested in psychology as well. And so they may not generalize beyond the sample population. Final strength, idiographic versus nomothetic. Idiographic, right? It's idiographic. Versus nomothetic. They used both applications. Applications. What am I saying? Approaches. They used both approaches, which is a strength. Quantitative data via questionnaires allows you to draw conclusions based on statistics, which can be generalized to a wider population. That's nomothetic approach, obviously. And qualitative data was gathered via interviews, taking the detailed descriptions of their experiences, which is the idiographic approach. These two things together increase the validities of findings regarding the frequency of persecutory ideation in the general population. Ethics. They checked to see if the VR task created distress via the interview. There was no distress. Anxiety scores were similar before and after the VR task. All participants gave consent, though it was not fully informed, as they didn't know about the VR environment or about the true aim of the study, being about persecutory ideation. But this is justified, as it was not distressing to the participants and the results were beneficial to society. Finally, issues and debates. Application to everyday life. A strength is that VR can be explored further to see how it can help as therapy or diagnostics. However, it needs to have strong ecological validity first, though, because, otherwise it won't actually be applicable. Finally, individual versus situational. The study highlights both explanations in regards to the development of persecutory ideation, as the range of questionnaires measured anxiety and paranoia, etc. And these are individual factors which affected persecutory ideation. And additionally, researchers point to the potential of changes in the VR environment affecting persecutory ideation, which of course is linked to situational factors. And there we go. That is the end of the study. They're a lot faster in A level, but you also need to know about a bajillion more things. However, there is 10 of them, so you can't skimp. There's 10 of them. You have to know 10 of these key studies by the book. You have to know them because if you don't know, in paper 3 and even in paper 4, they do ask questions about them. And in paper 3, especially in paper 3, they ask questions where you just have to write about the entire study. And they also do still ask questions, big, like 10-point questions, 10-mark questions, about evaluating it. So, gotta be ready. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Good luck.